Yes. So let's take that breath, feeling that love, that ever-presence, face of God that is within, that is me, that is creativity, that is love, that is joy, that is freedom, that is wisdom. This ever-present life that is having its way in as and through me right here, right now. Acknowledging this face of God as my face and as the face of each and every person here. So we take that breath to acknowledge this truth and to see that in each person here this day. So this month, we get to focus on this energy of the divine feminine. Last week, Reverend Soni kicked off this topic for us by focusing on Shekinah, the wisdom goddess in mystical Judaism. And Shekinah encompasses the light of creation in all. It is that shred, that spark of light, as if this explosion happened, and then this light scattered and became each of us. So I encourage you to go back and steep yourself in the wisdom of that message. As we continue today on this theme, Dylan Grace Essetier is a current writer and speaker, inspirational thought leader. And she says, the divine feminine represents the connection to the part of your consciousness responsible for nurture, intuition, and empathy, regardless of your gender. The divine feminine is the aspect of self associated with creation, intuition, community, sensuality, and collaboration. So it's not about male, female, gender. It is the spectrum of energy that lives in as and through us as we have identified these different aspects as feminine and masculine. And truly, we are whole, we are perfect, and this life that we call spirit, that we call God, that we call divine, encompasses these different aspects that we have labeled masculine and feminine. But it's the spectrum of energy that is all that we are. Yet it's good to identify, because how this can help us is to notice where we might be out of balance in our own way of being and our own experience of that divine self in expression through us. So if we were to look at this feminine aspect being that of receptivity, of creativity, this imaginative power, always seeking to express, all about the process, about grace. And I keep doing this because it just feels like this like receptive container, right? So this feminine energy. And then you can think of this masculine, and I do this as this kind of outward focus, this direct, this really pointed, results-oriented, powerful force, that kind of first cause, that like an idea of creation being planting the seed, right? The very focused intention. And then there's this beautiful womb that holds it all. And from the merging of the two, creation is born, yes? And this incredible wisdom and energy has always been impacting the evolution of our planet. But the feminine energy is more that subtle, quiet, from within presence. Whereas this masculine energy is more of the outward, seen presence. But it's all within us, and it is all divine. So what we can look at is in our own life, where perhaps are there ways that we are experiencing a more extreme end of this spectrum? And what would it look like if we were to bring in harmony all aspects of our being, all aspects of the divine, and truly integrate that energy into a powerful experience of life, of divine? Our true power lies in this creative, imaginative energy being able to be focused such that we can take action and produce results. It is the both and. So as we integrate this energy, think about what is possible in your own life and for our world. Today specifically is International Women's Day. Yes. This year, we are also celebrating 100 years of the suffragette movement, which allowed that right for women to vote. Give it up, give it up. So we're going to talk a little bit today. The theme is on legacy. And it's important to kind of look at some of our history in order to know what the shoulders we stand on, and then consciously decide what is that legacy we are creating? What is that path that each of us is choosing to create in our own lives to make that impact? So looking specifically at New Thought, which is the philosophy, the umbrella teaching that we are a part of here at Ahava. So New Thought specifically has a wonderful legacy of female leaders. And religious science, that which is Centers for Spiritual Living, our organization, was one of the first denominations to ordain women in North America. Yeah. And it is because of these women and because of this that I am able to stand here as a female identified being, getting to present and be seen as a leader in this community, along with Reverend Soni. You have two powerful women spiritual leaders. Let's not take that for granted. That's not everywhere. And I believe it's because of the teachings, the understanding that this main tenet of oneness, that this science of mind teaching has been so inclusive to women, because we truly believe that we are all one, that we are all equal. And there wasn't the religious structures, although there were still those structures in society that perhaps disempowered women's voices, but truly these women were able to emerge in this teaching back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and be a powerful voice for this movement, and to be acknowledged because of that belief in oneness and that belief that we have something powerful to say. And that really honoring of the divine feminine being expressed through the vehicle of a female body. So I want to talk specifically about this woman named Emma Curtis Hopkins. Emma Curtis Hopkins was known as the teacher of teachers. She ordained and taught many New Thought leaders, which then went on to create these movements and various denominations, so to speak, of this umbrella called New Thought. And again, this was back in the early 1900s. So Emma Curtis Hopkins taught Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Science of Mind, which is our main practice here. She also taught Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who then went on to create the Unity movement. And Emily Cady, who is another predominant leader in the Unity movement. She's written powerful books. Emma Curtis Hopkins also taught Nona Brooks, who then went on to co-found the philosophy known as divine science, still under this New Thought umbrella, and Annie Mintz, who created Home of Truth and helped create the International New Thought Association. I know I'm throwing out a lot of names and a lot of history, so just stick with me here. And if you're really interested and want to learn more about this, we do have a class here called Roots, and it's going to be coming up sometime in this next year. And we really dive into Emma Curtis Hopkins more, and you can study about her lineage there. But I want to read one of a quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins to kind of anchor us in a little bit of her wisdom. Sometimes you must stop giving thanks to the supreme God and name everything as giving you bounty. For God seems afar off sometimes, and not speaking or breathing through our world and every object in it. By stretching the mind forth to be grateful to our idea of God, we do well. But we do well to look at God near at hand also. If you gather all the beauty of one woman into your memory, all the smiles of friends into your memory. You will have all the tithes in your storehouse. Whoever will do this will spill over with blessings. Yes, that's just a little snippet of her teaching, and you can see how powerful and anchored she is on truth and seeing this aspect of life in all, in the everyday, and honoring and being grateful for how that shows up. So we have the opportunity this week to honor that legacy that has been created and the powerful women as well who has served in the organization that is now known as Centers for Spiritual Living. The fact that we have had female serve as our spiritual director of the overall organization, as our field leader, many positions, many powerful women in this movement. I want to highlight another woman. Her name is Johnny Coleman. You may have heard of her. She was the first Black woman to attend the Unity Ministerial School in 1951, and she was ordained in 1956. Then she went on, she moved to Chicago, where she was a public school teacher, and then she created the first mega church in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, as a Black woman. That in itself, the first mega church in Chicago was created in the 50s by a Black woman who knew the truth, who embodied the fullness of who she is, didn't let the world tell her what she could or couldn't do, and then created this entire other movement, which again came under that umbrella of unity, and then kind of split off and created the Universal Foundation for Better Living and created Christ Universal Temple, which is still active in Chicago today. And she made her transition just a few years ago in her late 90s. 90s. So many powerful women have paved the way, and yet there is still work to be done. I find it interesting how society, we can be in rooms like this and even out in the world in greater circles, and we can honor the divine feminine. It's wonderful, it's idealized, yet when it comes to actual women in flesh, we are still often seen as less. And we can look at something right now in current events as evidence of this. So this is not a political commentary. I'm using this example because it is something that we all know of. Elizabeth Warren, as we heard this week, who was running for the Democratic nominee, withdrew her name from the race. And when asked if she thought that gender played a part in this, that sexism, that patriarchy played a part in the fact that she was not succeeding in this nomination, this is her response. Gender in this race, you know, that is a trap question for every woman, she told reporters. If you say, yeah, there is sexism in the race, everyone will say, whiner. And if you say, no, there's no sexism, about a bazillion women will think, what planet do you live on? So this is the world, the context of the world and society and the structures that we live in today. There's this kind of double standard, especially for women in power. So another example is when Warren would speak in a powerful, commanding, loud way, she was seen and called shrill. Yet when the men next to her would come across with just as much force and actually yelling, they were seen as powerful and strong. The women in the room are going, preaching to the choir a bit here, but it's this, roots of oppression that go way back through various cultures, and especially in religion. It's been supported by various religions, particularly in this country. So I want to do a little bit of a history lesson now as we honor International Women's Day. 1769, the colonies adopted the English system, decreeing women cannot own property in their own name or keep their own earnings. 1873, the Supreme Court rules that a state has the right to exclude a married woman from, a married woman from practicing law. 1900. By this year, every state has passed legislation granting married women the right to keep their own wages and to own property in their own name. 1916. Jeanette Rankin of Montana is the first woman to be elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is ratifying, ensuring the right of women to vote. 1932, Hyatt Wyatt Caraway of Arkansas becomes the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate. Also in 1932, the National Recovery Act forbids more than one family member from holding a government job, resulting in many women losing their jobs. In 1939, in Los Angeles, a woman went to jail for wearing slacks to court, the judge citing them as a distraction from the ongoing legal business at hand. My talk title is Don't Skirt the Issue. Don't skirt the issue. There is work to do. The fact that I can be up here wearing pants, y'all. 1939, a woman went to jail. Let's go on. 1975. Many of us can remember this year. I almost can. The Supreme Court denies states the right to exclude women from juries. 1983, Dr. Sally K. Ride becomes the first American woman to be sent into space. Ride, Sally, ride. 1993, there's a lot, y'all. I just highlighting, so I know we're skipping around. There's a lot. Just our highlights. But in 1993, women in the United States Congress were barred from wearing pants on the Senate floor. 1993, until the pantsuit rebellion overturned this archaic rule. 1913, the ban against women in the military combat position was removed, overturning the 1994 Pentagon decision restricting women from combat roles. 1994. Sorry. This was 2013. Yeah, and it overturned a rule from 1994. I am going chronologically, thank you. So 2013, that was overturned. 2016, Hillary Clinton secures the Democratic presidential nomination, becoming the first U.S. woman to lead the ticket of a majority party. 2017, the Me Too movement begins going viral amongst the exposure of the sexual abuse allegations against Harvey Weinstein. Although the phrase Me Too was first used on social media in 2006 by activist Tarana Burke. So let us not skirt the issue. Let's pants it. We have made tremendous progress, and you can see this kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back that has happened in our history of women in power. And yet we have work to do. And so I believe by loving and embracing all aspects of ourselves and not idealizing or demonizing one aspect of this spectrum of divine feminine, divine masculine, that we can embrace ourselves as whole. And by doing the work to bring equity to these injustices of the society that we live in. So it's the both and. We do our work in consciousness, through our spiritual practices, through our prayer, through knowing, through setting intentions of this world that works for everyone, of equity, of what we desire to see. And we listen to what is ours to do, to say, to take action, to be a part of these movements that can actually push our society forward, to be a more just and equal society for all. Ernest Holmes says, "Spirit is the Father, Mother, God, because it is the principle of unity back of all things. The masculine and the feminine principles both come from the one. Spirit is all love, all life, truth, love, being, cause, and effect. It is only power in the universe that knows itself. The spirit can know nothing outside of itself, because that would be God and something. Spirit is all, the center and circumference of everything that exists, both manifest and unmanifest." So all healing is done at the level of the mind, or our conscious, our beliefs, our thoughts. And as we begin to love and embrace all aspects of ourselves, to do our spiritual work, to see and hold this for our entire world, to educate ourselves on our history, of this legacy, of the shoulders that we stand on so that we may continue to evolve and grow. We can hold that we live in a world where all are truly treated equally. And know that we are always evolving. It is the nature of life. It is the evolution of consciousness. Take Barbie, for example. Barbie has come a long way, y'all. I mean, from that original image of this unrealistic body proportion to now there are curvy Barbies. You know, the curvy Barbies are just slightly more realistic in real women's Barbies. And there's also this year the launch of the non-binary Barbie, expressing this gender fluid identity in a Barbie. And there's different outfits you can put on them. And sometimes they wear, hat, short hair, long hair, various things. So Barbie is an example of the evolution of our consciousness, because Barbie is just a product that is created out of the society in which we live in. So where we are today is even pushing the envelope beyond gender, beyond this binary, male, female, masculine, feminine, and expression, to non-binary, to gender fluid, and to getting the opportunity to get to play with our gender and to express all aspects of ourselves so we can be that powerful creator in this world. So in conclusion, we have been blessed by a history of powerful female leaders within the New Thought movement. And by their demonstration of embodying the wholeness of who they are, that connection of spirit of the one life, they have created this legacy, which has allowed myself and many others to stand here and be a part of this movement. So my question to you is, whose shoulders do you stand on? And what is the path that you are leaving? And how, if you embrace this divine feminine energy, nurturing creativity, as well as this divine masculine energy of action and results, what is the impact you can create on this world? And what is the legacy of oneness you are leaving? So let us take that into prayer. So taking that deep breath and recognizing this one life as this divine presence, as love, as peace, as freedom, as creativity, as wisdom, knowing that this is who I am, that I am the very life of the one, that this peace, this freedom, this creativity is who I am. And as I know this to be true for myself, I know this must be true for each and every one of us. For there is only one life, one divine expression happening here, now, and always. So I say yes, allowing this energy of spirit to inform my very being, to inform every action I take, every word I speak, every deed, knowing that I am always steeped in this divine wisdom, and that within me lies everything I need to be that powerful presence on this planet, to make that impact, holding and knowing a world that works for everyone, knowing equity, knowing love, knowing peace prevails, that all are seen and loved as the whole, perfect, and complete beings that we are. So I take a deep breath of true acceptance, knowing this word that is spoken is manifest now. And with great gratitude, I release this word into the action of the law that always says, yes, 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 my beloved, it is done, it is so. And so it is.